Bonjour, bonjour. Thanks to everybody who got in touch after my last video. You asked for me to keep going, and so here it is, reportage number 4. Coming to you from the Twilight Zone in southwest France, where since we last spoke we have lost no further people to the plague. The death toll stands at 5 in my department of the Creuse of 120,000 people. Across France, the epidemic is abating. Case numbers are dropping, as are the death rates, which is really great news. Now, if we follow the data, we can see that the epidemic is behaving in a completely normal way, and as such, you can project when it will end. And it's set to be flatlining around the end of May, which is further really great news. But not if you look at the media. According to the government and the media, life will never be the same, and we have to continue the social distancing measures. Brussels is rolling out a pan-European trace, track and surveillance app for us to put on our phones. The pandemic pantomime is never ending. Why is this? There will be no more epidemic by the end of May. How are they going to continue this farce? And why? Why won't they let it go? Well, I am about to tell you why. So, now, if you think that all of this farce is down to government incompetence, or you think that maybe the government are doing their best for you under the circumstances, I would tell you that this is slightly beyond naive. You have to know that there are corporate financial interests behind this whole thing, working behind the scenes. Only an ignorant child would not know this. Now, who are behind this? The media and government are framing this as a war. We are in a conflict. The public is asked to rally, as in war times. The troops are being hero worshipped. We're having a minute's silence for the fallen, and the war chest is well and truly opened in the form of a never-ending credit line. The economy, and I don't mean the system or the monetary system, I mean us. We are the economy, our enterprise, our creativity, our productivity. We are being mortally wounded and becoming the collateral damage in this war. And apparently in this war we are all in it together, but I would ask, really, are we? As in all wars, there are profiteers behind the scenes. And usually it is the profiteers who bankroll the whole event. So who are they? Firstly, we have Big Pharma, who are set to profit endlessly from endless testing and endless annual vaccines. Next, you have the tech companies, the big tech companies, who are now being asked to roll out much technology in order to fight the enemy. And thirdly, we have the private banking cartel, who will roll out endless debt, and in the post-war depression will nationalise our infrastructure, privatise and commodify our natural resources. Please see what happened to the PIGS countries in the banking collapse of 2008. Now, who wages war? Governments, certainly, but usually you will find that behind every war is a corporate interest or financial interest. And why do they wage wars? To grab for power and to control natural resources. And it is these forces who are waging this war, and it is not against a virus. This war is against humanity and nature itself. I will explain. Any epidemiologist will tell you that this is no way to deal with an epidemic. A virus is a natural event in a human life and a natural event in a human society. And it usually will come to a natural conclusion, as in, yes, some may die, but it will end up in a collective immunity and will conclude. Now, you may think that the virus is not natural, that it's released from a lab. I'd say you're probably right. Every country is dabbling in this kind of nonsense, and I would say that they release them all the time. However, Even if it isn't natural, it seems to be behaving in a perfectly natural way, as all epidemics do, and will come to a natural conclusion as such. Now, if we start to play the blame game, we will end up actually in another kind of war, a more traditional war, and we really don't want to go there. And in any case, if this is an unnatural virus released upon the people, it just proves my point that this is actually a war against us. Now, I would say that as a virus is in fact a personal and very subjective event, as in you will either experience no symptoms, some symptoms, mild symptoms, or you may actually become completely overwhelmed by it. That is down to what is happening in your body at that time. And we would be better to create a battle plan to support our organisms, our bodies, to deal better with viruses. And that would be to drink clean water, eat good food, natural vitamins and minerals, sunshine and fresh air. This would perhaps be a better course of action than staying at home, being terrified, waiting for synthetic immunity and washing your hands. Perhaps we should wage war instead on poisonous food, poisoned air, poisoned water, poisonous medications, which are all foisted on us by the same global corporate interests who are waging this war. So, an epidemic being a natural event, a virus being a natural part of us, we have 380 trillion of them within our bodies. I would say that this war is actually not against a virus, it is against us and nature. This war is constructed by the media, funded by the banks, imposed by the government, and planned entirely by the UN, the WHO, who are in turn funded and controlled by the same global corporate financial interests, who happen to be the profiteers. This is a war against humankind, and it is a war which has been going on for about 200 years. It's a war in the form of a war against natural food, natural medicine, natural agriculture, and the weapons come in the form of genetically modified organisms, poisonous chemicals in our air, water and food, harmful agricultural practices, and the ownership and control of natural resources for the profit of the corporate interests and the destruction of the environment. They do not care who dies, who suffers, and what gets destroyed in their pursuit. Now, why are they waging a war against nature and humanity? I will tell you why. Because they can only control resources, and they cannot own nature or natural processes, which means they cannot profit from them unless they are synthesized, chemically altered. They cannot profit from nature. This is not capitalism. It is a form of fascism in that it is a collaboration of state and corporate. All of your laws are written in the interests of corporate financial institutions. Now, they do this by restricting markets for their benefit, restricting healthcare and medicines for their profits. They chemicalise agriculture for their profit. They poison food for their benefit. They are allowed to ruin the environment for their profits, and in fact they control education, academia, science and technology in ways that suit them. The media, government and judiciary are in fact complicit. They are bought and paid for, and left and right politics is in fact a complete illusion. They may tinker with policy, but in fact they have the same corporate masters. Are you beginning to get the picture and see why this world is set up in such a wrong fashion?